Well, Pastor, look, I'm going to try to agree with you on today. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Okay. First lady. So, okay, First Lady's back, y'all. All right, well, today we have a great topic for you on today. We're going to talk about discussing your past in a relationship. How far should you go? How much should you disclose in a relationship?
I would say it would be based off situational. I think that it would have to be within the, I mean, if it's not within the confines of what we are discussing, then things shouldn't come to the table. If there's an issue that comes up, then that's when it's time to review it. I don't think you should just be the first day like, oh yeah, I slept with 56 people.
Well, yeah, and this is how I feel about it. I actually feel somewhat the same. It's definitely situational because it's like when you're getting to know a person, in my opinion, there are just like things you want to talk about. And I don't want to say it's so surface, it's just things about who you are as a person. Character. Who you are as a person, character, things like that. But the thing about it is you never really know how a person is until you see them in situations. They can say all day what they are, who they are, but actual actions is what defines who a person is. That's how you get to know, to me, a person. And as far as talking about your past and, what's going on in your past, you got to learn the type of person you're with and if they can even handle what's in your past.
Well, I still think it's a responsibility whether they can handle it or not, and that could be a make or break situation. I mean, the last thing you want someone finding out about your past is in the streets or from another person, because it can get pretty low down and dirty. I used to use exercise when I taught at Harvard Law School. I used to use exercise where I would tell them to tell a secret to one person in their ear. Mm-hmm. I said, you tell it. And by the time it got back to the original person, it was this, that, and this, and that, and this, and that, and that, and this, and like this, and like that. And so what I always say, get it from the source. Be the person to break your own news. Don't let TMZ come to your house or somebody try to sabotage you with papers of stuff that they heard. They try to, bring you onto a show. And then all of a sudden they, I got you. I think it's cheap journalism. I think it's cheap person tell you who they are, the insecurities that they have. I think that person is a dirtbag. They're scum of the earth. Furthermore, I think that, when people do stuff like that, it tells about their own doggone.
Yeah, Pastor, because you going way deep. And my thing is how I feel about this platform is called Bring It to the Table. So it's okay to bring it to the table, but we need to do it respectfully.
The person has to bring it to the table. It's not okay when somebody else bring it to the table and you didn't invite them to do it.
Well,
you didn't invite them to bring it to the table, and then, and so it puts a bad taste in your mouth. Mm-hmm. When a person brings something to the table unbeknownst to you.
Well, here is the thing, though. That's the reason why
your show is bringing it to the table, not surprised. It's on the table.
But here is the thing. That's the reason why the platform is the way it is, because it's meant to allow a person to come in and speak what's on their heart freely without judgment. Okay. You want to end this quick? Yeah. You want, because I really want to make sure you're well rested, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to just keep telling you about your pain. You really, have you ever been, I'm just asking, and I'm not saying, have you ever been somebody ever shook you before? Like
No.
You did your hand like this, they grabbed your hand, they didn't break it, but they twisted it to, they couldn't twist it.
No, I've never had that happen to me before.
Well, most of the time when it happened, you'll stop pointing.
Okay.
You know,
I'm
it's
sorry.
almost like
I'm
the
sorry.
kid
I'm
with the
pointing.
fire.
I'm sorry. I'm pointing at you. I pointed at you. I made sure I point to myself.
Well, that's what we should do
Obvious.
anyway. We should do that anyway. Well, you
But
get
let's kind of get back to the topic.
when you get the log out your neighbor's eye, get the beam out your own.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to
Very,
the.
very dismissive when it comes to a human being, African American especially, that has
What?
testosterone. You're very dismissive, but you want to get your point across. Go ahead. You're more important. What you say is way more important than an ordained minister that the Lord speaks to.
Okay.
If you go,
What's your whole name? Pastor Leviticus
let me
Bishop.
tell you, my name is Bishop Apostle Pastor Master Prophet Elder Judge Brother Leviticus David DeBoer.
There we go.
I say it fluently because it is in me.
And I respect all 20 of you. I do.
And guess what? Guess what? You bring a lot of you to a lot of y'all. And that's what that part of you that laughs, the 15-year-old version of you. That just don't see no way.
Okay. Yeah.
That part, the 20-year-old insecure woman that's gonna talk fast. That's two people right there. You keep going and call them.
Well, let me ask you a question. How much information have you,
woman that's real snarky.
how much information have you, of your past have you disclosed to First Lady?
Oh, listen, yeah, I'm an open book. Let me tell you something. I'm very see-through with her. She's see-through with me. Listen. The biggest thing is that we've been telling each other that you should lay down there in the form in which you came through the canal. You come in your natural form. Take all of this off. Strip down. And that's when here's the truth. Here I am.
Okay.
This is the way it is. I'm not hiding it. And I think that a lot of men are afraid of their natural form. Here it is.
We're talking.
That's me.
Are we
And
talking
I
about?
walk around and I let her know I'm not ashamed. Here we go.
Yeah.
And that's when the truth will be revealed to one another. There's nothing, my woman, my lady, my lover. That's my lover.
Yes.
So I call her. Right before I say, lover, are you ready? He said, yes, Lord. I said, well, lover, listen. We are going to go into that secret place. And she said, lover, I'm ready. And I told her one time, I said, if you were prepared a place for me, then it would be different. That's one thing I love about her. When it's time, I know it's time. She got a red phone in the light in the room. So there's no.
Red Bull. Yeah.
So there is no. I didn't know you wanted to. I didn't know. I know that you really got to.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Therefore, there's no hitting or missing. I know when it's time.
Into the red light.
Oh, the red light. And when that's on, I already know it ain't no guessing. It ain't no guessing. And the one thing you be intimate to is T.D. Jakes' love song.
Yeah.
To love you full life, and he comes right on. Just put you in the mood. It's the love. I love it. Oh. And it's just a great way to usher in the love making, And
Did you just imitate?
no. I would never do my comrade.
Okay.
He's going through some stuff, and I distance myself because I don't want him to associate us. But he's my comrade.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes you got to be wise and distance yourself and see what happens. And then I'll be his friend again. But right now, no, because I don't want them saying that we see us together.
Well, I don't know if I want that kind of friend. You gonna be my friend or you not?
No,
You know,
that's what
ride with me
I
if you ain't.
agree. But until it blow over, you might get back in contact with him. It just depends how his life goes.
Okay. Well, and that's the point that I'm making when I say, how much should you disclose? Because sometimes folks are just not ready to hear what it is that happens in or has happened in your past.
Gotta have a safe place. Some people are sensitive
Exactly.
about what you've been through. They hold you to that standard as the present time now. Some people are not mature enough to hear.
Or if you in arguments, then you constantly hearing your past come up and being weaponized.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm referring to when I say, what kind of mate do I have? Let me find out who I have in my corner before I can even disclose that level of
see-through.
Now, see-throughness, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm withholding or whatever. It's just that I can't just be divulging my personal space, my personal business to every individual just because we say we together. I gotta make sure that, like you say, there's a safe space for me to even disclose. And then how much of my past is even relevant to the relationship? Sometimes I don't even remember half the stuff that I've done in my past until it comes up and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Wow, that was a long time ago. It's not like I'm just thinking, okay, make sure I tell him this, I tell him that, and I tell him this. It's like situational, like you said, as it come up. It's not like I'm trying to withhold. It's just that maybe it wasn't the time to disclose in that moment.
Yeah, well, I think for me, the biggest thing with me and the things that we want to know if somebody done smashed you and beat it up, or shot the club up. I would say. Because the worst thing you can ever do is be out with your lady and one of your guys come up and say, oh, hey, oh, okay, bro, that's you? You said, yeah, that's me, man. You proud. Got her face on the chain. and he like, so that's you? Yeah, why you say it that way? Because he done raided the town, the village. I think that's when it should be. You have to disclose it. If it's a person that you know and you guys know you're gonna be in the company of, now that's the time you suppose. Then now that gentleman or that woman should be able to make a decision, a choice if they want to pursue you any further, because that's a very uncomfortable situation. Somebody done had first lady legs up like a goal post in the NFL. It's good, who would be comfortable around a man that's been in your valley, been in your town, know how your town look inside and out. That's a different type of comfortability you gotta have, and I wouldn't have that. I would be feeling like he done did what I did. I'd be looking at her like, you scumbag, disgusting, even though it's life that happens. That's why I said, be forthcoming, ladies and gentlemen. Life happens.
People have past.
Everybody has a past, but give that person an opportunity to say, you know what, that's a little bit too much for me.
Exactly. I agree.
But, other than that, it's situational. You can't make a decision not to tell him or tell her because you don't want to lose them, but because you'll end up losing them anyway, because the truth has a strange way of coming out.
Well, to me, I feel like asking how many sexual mates have you had in your lifetime is not like something you should ask once y'all have committed to each other. That's like a surface question. That's like one of those things like you ask when you first start your course with one another. So we can get that squared away right away. But I'm talking about maybe childhood traumas or just things that I struggle with. I'm not about to just start disclosing my whole life, you know what I'm saying, to a person that I'm not secure in and trust,
Well, that's the purpose of getting to know.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a person that you do want to divulge information to.
Yeah, it's levels to this.
It's absolute levels. But everything is backwards in the world now. Nobody courts anymore. It's they sleeping and then be like, what was your last name? It's backwards. So the getting to know part, or getting on the phone to get to know. It's a text era. Everybody texting. I believe in being on the phone. Talk. My mother used to always say that the more you talk to a person, the more they'll tell you who they are.
That's it.
So that's why relationships go a certain way, because we don't take the time to get to know.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we used to do that.
Right, and then one thing I was going to say about that is the reason why I say it's levels to this is because by the time you get to marriage, then there shouldn't be anything off limits. Like, well, I don't want to talk to him about that or this, and that. And I feel like even as a Christian, if God is leading you to, why is it that every time I'm talking, you always want to yarn?
Yeah.
That's you want to talk about disrespect.
Yeah, that must be your trick. Okay, sir.
You are so double standard. Everything you try to lash out at me about.
I'm not double. I only speak English. Let's get that together. I'm not that way, but I'm trying to learn another language. But let me just say this: sometimes the way you explain something, it just kind of just makes me. That's all. There's nothing against you. It's maybe something going on up here. I have to probably try to find out what is it about your voice.
Okay, so let me just ask this question, because obviously the only thing that keeps you awake is you talking. So let me ask you this question: when it comes to divulging or getting to that place of understanding your mate and their past, what are some platforms or some ways that you can do that? Now, we already know courting, meaning like dating, going out, getting to know what have you, but what are some other things like when you're transitioning into another level or season of your relationship? What are some
ways? What I'm going to tell you is, when I have gotten my doctorates, 4 doctorates, degree, PhD, what I did was when you have to do research. And if you don't research and study, the Bible says you just study to show thyself approved. And to tell you that we deal with our wives according to knowledge. And to tell you to wash her with the word. And to tell you that you have to, the same way you study that word, you have to study and find out your mate. Find out the essence. And if you don't do that, then your relationship is going to be exactly where it's at. Not consistent and not well researched out. That's the problem, that we give up really quick. We throw the white flag in really quick. So that that person burp and they don't smell like you think it should, or they fart. With their back towards you, they just let it go. And they deny it. You didn't fart. We only two in the room, so I know it's either me and you, and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
It's that trust that you got to get to that point. But I think a lot of relationships, you're not studying that person. You got to study them and find out if this is what I can deal with. If I can't deal with that, but that get lost in translation. We don't study that person to find out.
So we give up. We give over ourselves.
We give ourselves
the most intimate, right? And then
share all these juices, flapping skins and meats, and now you like, yeah, you look. Now it's like you can't stand them, but you can't live without them.
That sounds like a trick.
Yeah, it is a trick. It's a trick of the enemy. And then this is the thing that I find out, is that when you're dating, you can live in sin your whole life, doing all types of fornication, different types of fornications too. You do all that stuff and it's just delicious to you. As soon as you get married, it's like, I'm fasting. Oh, I'm a vegetarian. I love it. I love no meat. Oh, I can live like this forever, can't you? I'll be like, no. But I'm saying it in fun, but I'm saying it in all seriousness. Is as soon as you put the label on it, that's when all HE double hockey sticks break out. Because there's no power without the covenant. You don't realize how much power you have once you say I do.
My thing is too, is like, you're never gonna know enough. I mean, well, you will know enough to know if you're wanting to move forward, but you're gonna always be learning about your mate, always be learning about their past, always learning things about them, and it's all in the seasonal. Because sometimes you won't find out certain things until the season has presented itself in order for it to come out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And at that point, you have to have a level of trust and commitment to the situation to see it through and just know that regardless of whatever present itself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I have the tools that I need to work with you to get through it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like one of those things where you're gonna know it all before you commit. No, you're gonna
You
have
never know
to.
it all.
Right, exactly.
But you know, one thing about it is that you can't punish a person for their truth.
Ooh, now that's a good one, Pastor.
Stop punishing them. And it makes a person not want to tell you the truth if they're going to be punished for it. So you got to be mature enough. And you have to have enough God in you to be humble enough to accept that truth and not punish them for it.
That made me think about a lot of things that I had to disclose to my husband about me and my past and just worried about judgment.
Can I ask you, was it like a Julia Roberts thing
What you mean?
or Pretty
Julia?
Woman? You ever seen Pretty Woman?
I did.
So you're talking about like that? Or
Like I was a prostitute?
what is that?
No, I was not.
Okay. Yeah, well, we cleared that up.
Well,
No
okay,
need to
I'm not
be
even trying to
offended.
lash back out at you. I'm going to take the high road, sir. No, I was
didn't-
not.
I was just, that's why I asked. You know, you asked to get, to the source.
Mhm.
You're the source. And I didn't want to assume, because when you assume, you make up.
So what made you even feel the need to ask me that? Like, did you
Because
see
the
anything?
way you set it up,
Huh?
the way you were saying it, like you, the vagabond woman, like you were, I didn't want to tell. I had to tell
Well,
you.
guess what? Even if it was one of those things,
I'm
this
sure
ain't
you
a
would- I'm
safe
sure you
place
would.
for me to share.
But
So
if
you
it
would
was a
never
situation, I
know.
think you would probably be by yourself right now.
That's not true,
If you were a
because my
prostitute,
husband's not that way.
I don't know. Maybe you don't know. But you think you know. But you
Why
probably.
is my marriage
You
the
tell me
target?
if you was from Backpage, and the only way I know about Backpage is somebody told me.
Oh, really?
If
You
you,
ain't got no account,
no, I would never.
no profile,
I
sir.
would never indulge in
What about fans only?
that. I've never heard of that. And a lot of things I won't hear because of my mantle that I care. It's a
Okay.
disciplined life.
It's a discipline life.
I'm a high value.
You are high value.
So when you are high value, it's a disciplined life. You look at things differently. And certain things I would never indulge in. Certain people I would never. You wouldn't catch my slip, like they say, your slip showing. You will never see me without no underwear on. Because I value the mantle that I carry. I value it. And so that's for me. That is essential. Essential to finding that person. But here's the trajectory. Stay with God. And it's just a person there. And if you don't stay with God, you go ahead and you run into jokers you don't supposed to run into. Because if you stay with God, you get to that person with being understanding. You say, how can two walk unless they agree? You don't want to be unequally yoked. You're equally yoked here. Tell them something. They say this. You go here with God. It's hard.
Right.
So go here with God. Don't go there.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that's and the reason why is because I've been really, let me tell you something. If your word don't look like this, if it ain't battle tested, if you ain't got marks in it, if you ain't got notes on this and that, I would ask you, what are you doing? My word, you see it all marked up.
The page coming out.
Exactly. I like that. If your word ain't like that there, You're not living a disciplined life. Let me tell you something. You're gonna say the wrong thing, you're gonna wake up with panic. Keep it up. You keep it up because you care about me.
So what you said? God gonna get me because he care about you. He care about me too.
Okay, you're laughing at one of his own.
I'm one of his own as well, and I'm not laughing at you.
You're
I'm
still on
laughing at the
probation.
book.
You're still on probation. You
Well,
have
God
not
is
crossed over
good.
yet.
He good. He really is.
You're a newbie.
God is good.
You're a newbie. You see that noise you made? That means you need to exercise. You ain't number 25 and you sound like you're 66. You notice
Oh
how I
my
can make them
God.
noises.
You are so wrong.
I'm not trying to do it. I don't mean that.
Yeah, you do. I think you do it on
Listen,
purpose.
no, I said it in love. I said it in love. You have to say no. If you don't use it, you lose it. You understand what I mean? If you don't use it, you lose it.
You have any questions for me?
About what? I'm just saying.
About the show. What are we talking about?
What was that again? Because you
Oh
know, a lot
my
of times
God.
you say things that.
It's okay. You know what?
What,
On that note,
what were you saying? I'll ask you a question.
you know I can pull a on that note out quick.
Well, that doesn't.
On that note.
I'm sure you say that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that
Wrapping
note.
it up.
On that note. Yeah. You have to learn patience. We were just talking about that. Being patient. Being patient. Now, what questions would I have to ask you about the topic? Now, what was the topic again?
The topic is how much should you disclose in your past when it comes to
Let
relationships?
me ask you, as from a woman's point of view, what is important to you that a young man should disclose to you if it's a need-to-know basis? I'm thinking about what phase in the relationship are you in. That depends on what needs to be disclosed.
Yeah.
Now, if this is the getting to know, okay. So I'm asking you, you just told me to ask you a question.
Oh, it sounds like you was answering your own question. I'm sorry. What was the question?
There it is. You just harped at me about not asking. So I'm asking you, at what phase and what is important that you would like a young man to disclose to you about himself? What would be important to you in the beginning phase, intermediate phase, and now we're in the advanced phase of this relationship? Beginning phase, what would you want this young man to disclose to you in the beginning phase of getting to know?
To me, a lot of questions I would ask in the beginning phase would be, I would want to know, do they have children? I would want to know if it was their last serious relationship so I can understand how long it's been since they've been out of the relationship or if it's fresh, a fresh, breakup. I would want to know questions a lot about their aspirations. What are your desires? What are you looking to do? Because that gives me an idea of the direction they're going in their life. First and foremost, I would like to know if they are a believer in Christ, because then that tells me if we're aligned in our beliefs. Are they close to their family? And not necessarily entire family. I'm talking more of intermediate, like siblings, mother, father, because then, if you don't have a relationship with your mom, then that can possibly tell me if you know how to necessarily treat a woman or not. Or if there's a woman in your life, an elderly woman, that, that's a mother figure. So to me, I feel like learning certain things about your dynamic and what's going on could give me an idea, not necessarily a factual, but just an idea of who you are in your core being. So it's like just questions that I'm probing to just find out the makeup of this person and who they are, and to see if it aligns with where I feel that I'm going in life. So those are like a lot of the beginner type questions. And then as you move along, it expounds more and more. If you decide like, okay, I'm feeling this person and I'm looking to go a little bit further. Oh my God! What? Okay, you know what? On that note, it is time for us to just pull the plug. I thought I was getting some good information, but I guess, Pastor didn't feel like I was. So I want to thank you so much for coming out, for taking time to, like, look into what it is that we have to say. Thank you so much, and we just say, I'll just toe up right now. Tune in to the next Bring It to the Table, because what happens at the table stays at the table. Have a good one. Bye, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Bring It to the Table, because what happens at the table stays at the table. All right, now look who we got here.
All right, there you go.
Hey, Pastor, where you been?
Oh, where have I been? South Africa, Egypt. I
Okay.
did a tour of the continent. I was in a huge overseas region.
Also, you did another one of those preach-offs.
Yeah, and I did obtain pastor of the year again.
Okay, so you won.
Yeah, I did win. So I'm fresh off the plane. I've been, oh man, name it. I have been. So that's why you don't see me with my normal suit on.
Okay.
But I have been out and about and spreading the word of our Lord and Christ, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Passover is coming, and I'm excited about that.
All right.
And I have to apologize to you, beloved. The guests that you have had, co-host, my brother was on here. And, yeah, my older brother. I don't condone certain type of behaviors.
Yeah.
I do about that.
I appreciate that, because I'm gonna tell you, it was really weird how it all happened, because we were looking for you because you just went missing. You didn't tell us. You didn't let us know what was going on. First, I'm like trying to like figure out, can we work together, and then I receive it, and then you go missing.